What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone we got Pete from Ensiferum. Thank you so much for your time today, man. Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. The new album is Thalassic. Could the new single that you released, Rum Woman Victory, almost serve as like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, or is that just the beginning, like scratching the surface?
That is totally scratching the surface. Could say it's different from the usual Ensiferum catalog, what our fans have been used to so far. We got a new guy on clean vocals and keyboard, Pekka Montin. So he has a pretty big part on this album on vocal range, and well, everybody heard his voice already on the first single.
Well, yeah, that's something I was curious about, is if having a new member on board is almost kind of like bringing in new elements into your sound completely.
Well, the keyboard is, well, we have had that one already since day one, so that's no new thing. But now we got a clean vocalist who is taking a very strong like lead vocal element on the new song. So that's definitely a new angle for this band.
Yeah. Do you consider this just a direct follow-up to Two Paths, or do you think that, like, in a way, like, this record stands out conceptually a little bit more?
I think this will stand out pretty much out from the Two Paths album. We were doing and getting more compact with the songs, cutting out kind of like unnecessary parts and stuff like that. So it's more compact and direct in that way.
When it comes to like the songwriting process, has it always been like, when you compare like Two Paths to From Afar to One Man Army to Unsung Heroes or Iron, like, is it almost kind of like, has the songwriting process always been different, or is there kind of like a usual go-to method behind the madness, as I like to say?
Well, somehow it always feels like complete madness. Well, basically, the beginning of all the songwriting process is following kind of like the same plan and same path as it always have. There's first just a small idea which is introduced to the band, and we start to grow the songs from those ones, and then for some reason we end up having actual songs. But well, basically it goes like that.
Is there almost, do you almost kind of like look at these albums as like a representation of who you are at a particular time, or is there not much of your personal life incorporated in the lyricism?
Well, the lyrics are coming from our bass player Sami, so that would be mostly directed to him. But I think there is somewhat like personal stuff also put into the lyrics. But this new album is like based on sea, so we have a lot of water coming up on this album in a way.
Awesome. Did you like incorporate elements of like earth and fire and air in the other ones? So are you kind of like coming full circle with those elements?
Excellent question. We have not thought that far ahead yet.
Oh, so this could just be the beginning of like a new series in a way.
It totally could. I think I'll write that one down.
Awesome. Awesome. Just make sure I get a little credit. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
But being that, like, you do have like a subject matter, obviously that influences the lyrics, as you know what your bass player would be writing. But like, would you say that maybe a concept can determine the music itself in a way too? Like, did having the element of water like almost influence the sound of the music as well?
Not like totally directly, but maybe in a subconscious level a little bit. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to write a riff or a melody that somehow remind me of water.
You
You
got
know?
you got to make the song
Yeah.
flow really well.
Yeah. Well, I think we managed to do that one pretty damn good. That the songs do flow like water.
Being that you're when it comes to like incorporating the material like and comes to songwriting, do you almost kind of have to like look for inspiration in order to get inspired to write? Do you look for ideas when it comes to writing music, or do you have to like put yourself alone in isolation, or like does inspiration sometimes come out of the blue?
Sometimes comes out of the blue, and sometimes you really need to dig really hard. So,
Hmm.
well, our main guy Marcus, who writes most of the music, uh, he really likes to do everything like completely alone first. So he do prefers like isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like playing the material together, is it almost kind of like it must feel like a different song when you guys are all together and tracking the stuff and everything, right?
Yeah. Well, everybody brings their own flavor to the stuff, so it starts to sound like music at that point.
Hmm. When it comes to one thing I was really wanted to ask you is that I didn't get to ask you on the Septic Flesh tour last year that you guys were on is I've always admired your live presence because I feel like it's a very different experience seeing you live than simply listening to the material. Is playing live almost is there any similarity between playing live and songwriting, or is playing live and songwriting a completely separate art?
They are completely separate thing.
Really? How
At
so?
least in this, yeah. At least in Ensiferum, yeah.
Yeah.
We love to play live, and playing live is the highlight of this profession. If you ask from me, so every time you walk on stage, you give it all. You know.
Yeah. Do you always try to execute the material exactly note for note, exactly how people are hearing it on the album, or do you try to maybe change things up a little bit?
Uh, we kind of cannot do that one since we do have also the other orchestral elements in our songs, so we're kind of like forced to use backing tracks, and those actually don't give in a single inch. So, which is a bummer in a way that there is like very hard to do like live jam sessions on stage, but that is not so much present on heavy metal bands nowadays anyway. But still, we're a little bit missing on that one. But we do our best to perform and play
Yeah.
as well in our abilities gives in that particular moment.
Yeah. Do you almost kind of like because of like the choreography and the imagery that you bring on stage? Do you almost kind of like portray a character on stage in a way?
Yeah, I would say there's of course a little bit of like acting involved on that one. You know, when I'm cooking, I don't move like I do on stage at home. So, you know, so in that kind of way. But it all comes. It's hard to say what you're gonna do on stage. You might think in a little bit of a head like what you're gonna do and stuff, but the moment when you're live on stage actually dictates what you're gonna do. It's the interactive thing with the audience and all that one. It sometimes it makes you do cool stuff on stage, and sometimes maybe not so much. But it's all part of the show. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Do you almost kind of have to like rehearse the choreography on stage? Like, in addition to practicing the material, I'd imagine that you have to almost like practice crowd interaction and practice like the choreography of what you're portraying, right?
Um, Not so much. The final touch always comes through the shows, and we've been playing since early 2000 live shows, so we pretty much know how we already move on stage. So that comes out already naturally.
Hmm.
So yeah, we don't plan ahead maybe a little bit, but everything comes out during the show on its own, like it's supposed to.
Yeah, not to mention, I think if you like plan it too far ahead, you'll always be disappointed, and it'll be too dictating, right? I admire like the freedom that you portray on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, and Adam, also, does maybe like the venue itself also dictate the live presence as well in a way, like depending on like the size of stage you're on? Because when you play like a big festival, I'd imagine there's a lot more room to like incorporate more production and everything like that. But when you play like in a venue like Irving Plaza or something like that, I'd imagine that adjusts to how you portray yourselves live as well, right?
Yeah, of course. Smaller stage, you got less room to move, so the danger of collision with another band member is very much more higher. You always kind of need to look around a little bit when you decide to take a step left or right. There actually might be somebody over there, and then you have the huge stages where you go too far away from your microphone and you're already late when your time to sing comes up because you're still like 10 steps away from the microphone. It has happened, and I guess will happen a lot.
Yeah, I'd imagine you take one step too far back from the microphone and you're pretty much sitting on your drummer's lap too.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah, and I hope, be careful with swinging that guitar around. Getting hit with a guitar head is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, I haven't had that pleasure, but I have hit a bass player straight to the forehead with the tip of my guitar, and he felt dizzy for quite some time.
Yeah, that's terrible. Wow.
That happened in a very small stage in Finland a long time ago, but I was just bending forward and pulling back up, and he was at that point going down with his head, so it was like a full blast hit, direct hit. It was because I first didn't realize what the fuck it was, but it came pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 seconds later.
Yeah, the two things you need to be on tempo with is obviously to the drummer, but you also, I've always said, use the snare as a click track and, headbang to the beat of a click track or something like that. I think that's why a lot of metal musicians are using click tracks to know when to headbang.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the final question I wanted to ask you is you have a very, very dedicated fan base. Like when you released the first single, "Rum Woman Victory," I saw my Facebook feed just blow up. I saw I think that was the day you released that single. That was probably the only day in the past couple of weeks I wasn't spammed with the news about the virus. Which thank you for that, because that was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But when you have such a dedicated fan base and you hear on how your music has helped somebody through a darker time, does that change your perspective on how you look at yourself as an artist in a way?
Yeah. Gotta say, I have faced few people around the world who has been telling me that, the music what I've been a part of creating has helped them over a very dark period of their time and stuff like that. It gives a very new perspective to the music what we do, because stuff like that is not in my mind when we are writing music, but it feels really, really good to hear that it actually can help people in that kind of way, and not just like, damn, this is a good song, I'm gonna open up a fucking beer,
Mm-hmm.
But actually have like a very helpful meaning to people. It feels really good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a couple people playing From Afar back when I was a freshman in high school, and everybody was just going crazy. It was like the happiest day I've ever seen in high school.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for the new album cycle? Obviously, thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named, obviously touring is on hold at the moment. But I'd imagine when all this is over, we'll be seeing you on the road quite a lot, right?
Yeah, that's what we are hoping, that this damn time period where we are all together stuck right now will pass fast and start to get back normal as soon as possible. But looking forward to the future shows. And a week ago we were filming a new music video, so that's going to come out in June. So keep your eyes and ears open for that one.
Awesome.
And also the new album is going to come out on July 10th. And also we are planning a stream show. So news will follow with that one too.
That's awesome. And maybe you could do one of those drive-in concerts like what they're doing in Europe. The only thing is with the mosh pits that you guys create, I'd be terrified to see what the cars end up doing at one of your shows.
Yeah. If somebody is organizing that one, I'm in.
Yeah. Imagine a wall of death with just a head-on collision.
Ooh. I hope they got airbags.
Yeah. Well, if they explode, that'll save you a fortune on pyrotechnics.
Good point.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Pete. Everybody, we are here with Pete of Ensiferum. Be sure to pick up Thalassic, coming out July 10th on Metal Blade Records. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we'll see you next time.